Welcome to this episode of Shadow Revs. I'm sorry that it has been a while. I appreciate those of you that have been watching my videos, particularly my bike reviews. I have been putting a lot of emails out so that I could get my hands on some more bikes. The ones that I've reviewed so far have been part of my own genuine test rides. Obviously there's only so many bikes you can test ride with people before, you know, when you turn around and say, I'm definitely not going to be buying that, or I am currently only looking in that, you know, you kind of, they have more customers that are genuinely going to be buying something. I myself was intending on buying something new or nearly new. I'm going to be holding off on that for a bit of time. Liz Truss blew my mortgage up massively, so there's that. So any sort of monthly payment that would have been going on a bike has kind of been absorbed by that. Obviously energy costs and things as well, hence why we're living by tiny little lights here. I will be moving into the upstairs office, or the little in the room currently will be turned into the upstairs office. So with that, I'll have a bit of a better setup and I can do some more of these videos and keep on top of the editing and get a less squeaky chair. Pain in the ass. I'm going to jump into it today. So looking at what I've got today is common new rider mistakes and must-knows. Talking about what we've all done as new riders, to basically put it out there for you who are wanting to ride and those of you that are just starting out on your journey of riding, so you don't make the same mistakes again. There's nothing wrong with being honest and saying that you made a mistake. I have probably made at least 3 or 4 of the ones that I'm going to list here, most likely. Rattle through them right now. Didn't check my trainer from the first from a CVT part, so I didn't check the school. Wasn't happy with it. I didn't check the first bike that I bought properly. Well, I didn't check. I seen it. I knew it was going to be a project, so I didn't check it as thoroughly as I should have done because it was a sack, to be honest, with the intent of, I'm just going to strip it down, it's going to be great. Trouble was then, when I actually got to be doing my direct access a lot sooner than I intended, I've got a bike that is in bits and is not usable, so then I had to go out and buy a second bike. That's a big one that I'd have to say. Not taking into account costs, yeah, kind of done that a little bit. You kind of go into it and think, oh yeah, you know, I can afford this, I can afford that, and then when you start digging into it, you know, there's a few extra costs, a bit more expensive than running the car in terms of per mile. So we'll look at that and we'll dive into it. All right, so this is going to be one of a few videos like this. I'm going to start doing some of the review videos and things like that, but let's just jump into this one. Okay, so the first one that we're going to talk about is why you want to ride. Swear I'm going to get some oil on this seat. Really doing my head in. But yeah, why do you want to ride? Is it because you want to commute? Is it because you want to leisure ride? You just want to get out and hit the back roads and hit the twisties? Is it because you want to do some touring, which is something that I'm looking at wanting to do more of, but obviously family constraints and monetary constraints, might put a bit of a damper on that. Hotel prices have shot up, even camping pitches have shot up, so you know it is a bit more going to be of a time of year limited thing now with that. But we'll see where we get. It might just be that you want to do food delivery. It might be that you just want to be able to pop across town, and that's why you want a bike, because it's going to be a lot easier for you than having a car. But it's so important to know why you want to ride, because that's going to be the basis of all the money that you spend and all the decisions that you make going forward. If you know why you want to ride, you'll be looking at that category of bike for when you're looking at buying your bike, and then with that the category of gear as well, or your gear to match that category of bike riding style that you want to do. Your maintenance will vary massively depending on whether you're touring, commuting. It'll also depict the license that you might choose to do. Now I see it on the groups a lot. There's like on the Facebook, like the new biker or beginner rider groups, 125 groups, and people who have done their mod 1 and mod 2 on a 125, and people ripping into it. Why have you done that? Why don't you just do your tests on a bigger bike, then you could be riding a bigger bike? Well, because I want to deliver food. So it's cheap because it costs me naff all in tax, it costs me cock all in insurance, and me fuel, even in a time where fuel prices are sky high, is cheap as shit. So why would I want a big bike when I can do that on a little bike? That, when, let's be realistic, riding around town, particularly British towns, unless you go on the bypasses and flyovers, if you're in the proper cityscape environment, or like, you know, built up town, a 125 is perfect. You can still get out in front of all the other traffic, you can still filter down, and you can still get on with what you want to do. So absolutely decide, or try to decide, or understand what it is that makes you want to ride. Like me personally, personal life was going crap. We were having a bit of a bad year. I needed to be able to keep myself busy, so I got a 125. But then I was like, try and ease our lass into it. I'll get a 125, and in 12 months' time, then I'll get a bigger bike. Or then I'll do my licenses and I'll spread it out. Within 4 weeks. So, in June I'd done my CBT, July I got the bike delivered, and then back end of August I was doing my direct access, and I'd already then bought 2 other bikes, 600 and a foul, and I was then having to go on to, ride on those, and then I sold the 125 as well. The bike that I bought is a Sports Tourer, which I'm quite tall, I'm 6'2", I'm overweight. I didn't want to be cramped up on a sports bike. I am more about like the naked bikes, if I'm honest. I love like the Speed Twin type things, like some of the old Norton, or the new old like Norton styling, Bonnies and that, like anything Triumph really, like the classics or modern classics I do like, but I'd love to have a classic bike as well. But again, if you want a classic bike, it's probably going to be off the road more than you're on the road, so you're going to need something else. So I took the plunge and I got my 1050, and we'll talk about that more and how that came about. But yeah, try and understand what it is you want, because that is going to depict a lot, and part of it will be what's on my list over here of what we're going to be talking about. All right, so let's move on to the next one. Okay, so the next part, having an idea, with having an idea of why you want to ride and what type of riding it is that you want to do, means you can then research into that category of riding that you want to do, whether it's adventure riding, sports touring, sports bike riding, like your more off-road style, your cruisers and whatnot. But because once you know, then you can look into it. And as said previously, this will also dictate what you do in terms of your licenses. You might be able to do all the riding that you want to do on a CBT, but as said, the people in the groups that laugh at people that do Mod 1 and Mod 2 and a 125 is really not daft, because they can get the rail plates off. It'll change the insurance should go down because they'll hold the full license for it. They can take a pillion, not that I think many will, but they'll be able to take a pillion. But ultimately, if you're doing your CBT, £150 over 2 years, and then you can do your Mod 1 and your Mod 2. I cannot remember what the Mod 2 is, because I did mine for the direct access. I think it's 20 quid for Mod 1, and what is it, 50 quid is it maybe for the Mod 2, something like that, 70, I don't know. I can't remember what it was without actually looking at it. When I was looking at it, it was with bike hire from the school in order to do it. So, but either way, it is going to be less than renewing your CBT, so makes financial sense there. And again, you might not need, or you might not want to do anything above an A2. You might do your A2 license at a time when that's all that you can do, and you may choose that you don't want to do anything more than that. At the end of the day, if you're happy with that and the capabilities of the bike at an A2 level, then yeah. So another part of that will be like, what do you need to achieve? It will be, like I said, depending on what kind of riding. Like say if you wanted to do touring, like something I'm looking at getting into, it's more equipment. Waterproof duffel bags, camping stoves, tents, everything like that you might need if you're doing the camping route. You'll still need some provisions and whatnot, even if you're doing the hotel route. But then your clothing will be different. You'll have different gear. You're not going to be there in a full set of £400-500 leathers. You're going to be in a more like in a textiles jacket with jeans or waterproof capability trousers, again with the appropriate CE protection armour and stuff like that. But it's going to vary differently in what you get. You're going to want an extra pair of gloves, because you're going to need, you're going to be riding in the winter or the cold, or potentially the wet, very likely the wet, and more potentially the winter. But you're going to need a couple of sets of gloves potentially. You're going to need different boots. You're going to need waterproof socks. You need that capability to be able to get changed into something, or have something as a base layer that is going to be suitable for you for riding. So by knowing what it is that you want leads into knowing what you need, or at least researching what you need, and then helping your price up towards that, because ultimately large trouble with the bikes comes down to money and convincing your other half that they should let you spend that money. All right, let's move on to the next one. Okay, so this is a sort of a must know, beginners must know, but also a big mistake, or possible mistake. Hands up, made it. Checking into the training school that you're going to use. So for my CBT, everyone talks about it, it's not pass, it's not fail, it's just a certificate. So not having done it, but I spoke to people that had done it, it was like, oh, well, it doesn't really matter so much. I was being lazy, and I use an app that you can use on an online capability of booking online tests or training, and it's not specific to a school. It's basically just any school that was signed on into it. Anyway, done it, and just booked the nearest one to me that was available. Basically, like I said, I was being a bit lazy rather than ringing round. I just did that. So the importance here is twofold. One, the quality of training that you get from your school will depict how you ride on the road. You may be able to pass your test with poor level of training from your riding school, but you may achieve the standard on the day required for your test. However, once you leave after that test, you're still riding to that standard. If anything, standards tend to drop from that you're held to whilst you're training. So if your standards drop and your standards are already shit, frankly, then your riding is going to be even worse and you'll be putting yourself more at a greater risk. Second fold on it, again, money. Your biggest investment that you're going to make when you initially start is your training, especially if you go in the direct access route. Straight away, 800 quid, grand, gone. Never mind the fact that you'll have bought your own helmet, gloves, jacket, trousers, boots, if you spent all the money on the right protective equipment. But, you know, that's your second bigger investment. And then there's your bike. Now, don't get me wrong, I understand that some people might buy the bike and then have it there as an incentive to pass the test. But ultimately, if we just talk about it in terms of getting on the road, your school is the first one. Now, the school that I took my CBT with, it was shocking. So the instructor turned up late to start, then had a great big chinwag with us. Lovely bloke, not knocking him for that, nice bloke and that. Past history, you know, being in military and whatnot. The other guy that was on the course, he was ex-military as well, so you had a guy who was in his 70s, yeah, 70s as well, the other guy. Me in my late 30s, and then the other guy in his mid-50s. You had quite a bit of an array, and you had like Army, RAF, Navy, so it was quite a good bit of banter. But it did mean that we didn't actually get out to the bikes until gone 9:30, bearing in mind we'd arrived at 8 o'clock, because that's the time that we were told to arrive. So an hour and a half for nothing, basically. And then everything after that was very rushed in order to achieve what we needed to achieve. So you never felt like you were actually getting time to practice manoeuvres. I've ridden bikes before, but I was 16. It was 21 years ago. I hadn't touched a bike really since I was maybe 18. Had a pop around an RGV 250, but I'd not really touched a bike, so it was all a bit, not new, everything knew where everything was and what I should be doing, but not having done it for a long time, and particularly not done manoeuvres properly when I was in my youth, or, you know, didn't practice that. Yeah, it was all very rushed, basically, and then what you'd literally have, you'd have one person would be getting a bit of attention, the other would be getting it, and it'd basically just be whoever was failing at something at that time would be getting a grilling, whilst the other one's just left to their own devices doing the same thing over and over and over again. And when you tried to practice something outside of that, something that you were maybe struggling with and you wanted to touch up on, you know, whether it's your clutch control or figure of eights, what have you, it was no, I've told you to go in a circle, or what have you. The ride out again was a joke. It's supposed to be 2 hours road riding. We must have rode the equivalent of 20 minutes, 25 minutes, stopped in the car park, and then another chinwag for half an hour. Then we went out and rode for another half an hour, sat and had a chat for 20 minutes, and then had the last 10 minutes back to the school. So, you know, that 2 hours is the opportunity to drill out any issues or drill in some good skills before you're let out on the road on your own, and it wasn't utilised for that. It was just a bloke berating you over the ear, telling you to turn your indicator off, and you're there, oh crap, sure, turn the indicator off, what? And he's actually having a go at the guy in front of you, but it wasn't like identifying between the two of us. He was just berating, which wasn't constructive, because it actually made you more at risk of an incident. So that was my experience. I didn't check it, that was my fault. You know, yeah, the school shit, but that was my fault for not checking the reviews and having a good chat beforehand. So don't do that. Check your school, read the reviews on them. If you know anyone that's actually like used the school, try it for them. Like the guy that I used for my doing my direct access, it was chalk and cheese, and he was absolutely brilliant. He was calm, he was patient, you'd make mistakes, it wasn't someone shouting in your ear. He'd calmly and firmly correct you on what you'd done wrong, and he'd identify it to you, and he'd give you the opportunity to do it right at the next, you know, so if you made a mistake in a roundabout, he'd take you away and he'd bring you back to that same situation so that you had the opportunity to do it again. if it was a one-off at that, or if it's a continual thing at roundabouts. He'd just hound you on roundabouts and get you at roundabouts all the time. But he did it and targeted the shortcomings and the deficiencies in your competence. He didn't just berate you for it. So yeah, I can't say that enough. Don't make the mistake of not checking out your training school. Another must-know stroke potential mistake. So that's setting a budget, and that's setting a budget for, on this one, yeah, equipment. So PPE, if you are, or your protective equipment. So we're talking helmet, gloves, trousers, jacket, boots. Really what you should be looking at. Earplugs, if you can. Maybe not so much if you're on a 125. I didn't really notice it until I was on my thou with the wind noise. Even being not frugal on purpose is what I could afford. My spend on all those items of equipment came to 520 quid. So if I were totting up £1,000 for the school, 520 quid for my equipment. So just running through that, I'll have to have a look. Squeaky chair. Helmet was £120. That was a GV, I don't know which way that you say it. I'm not very good with language. Yorkshire, say it how it is, spelt. Jivvy, whatever you want to say. But that was 120 quid. But in fairness, that helmet, it came with pin lock, and it came with a drop down sun visor as well. It's comfortable, I'll give it that. It cleans up easy. It seems to be all right so far, and I've managed to put like mics in it and stuff like that. The line has come out so I can clean it, so I can't knock that. Issue I have with it is very loud. It's horrifically loud. If I start doing 60, 70 and there's a slight bit of crosswind, it is howling, absolutely howling. I get quite a bit of buffet on my bike, and it is, yeah, it's absolutely howling. So move on to my jacket. So right, got two jackets. I've got a hoodie, and I've got a jacket. Look in the right place here. Got a hoodie, and I've got a jacket. So the initial hoodie, I kind of got conned into getting that, was £140. Can't remember the brand of it, but I'll put a review up and we'll link it all into this video. So that came with level 1 CE approved armour. So it came with that, but not a back protector. That was extra if you wanted it, but you could just buy like your generic RST or whatever back protectors that you could get. He's decent enough, if I'm honest, but I'd put on quite a bit of timber. So in order to get around my gut, it meant that the shoulders and the arms are quite slack. And what I didn't like, it was all right when I was cutting around town on my 125, but then when I got the thou, I didn't really like riding around. It was flapping away. It kind of felt that if I was going to hit and say land on my arm, it just felt like it was going to rip round, and that arm was just going to shift, and then my elbow was just going to get worn away, or just bounce along and broken underneath from the, there was Kevlar reinforced points, impact points, but it's ultimately, yeah, it was just going to, felt like it was going to snag away and go into the areas that weren't so abrasive protective. So I did buy an RST jacket, which again, I'm going to review all the equipment I've got. I'm going to do it in a big one video and do a bit more in depth on a couple of items on there. But it's the RST textile one. It wasn't a mega expensive. I think it was about 100 quid. Again, came with level 1, needed a back protector, so I spent another 20 quid on a back protector level 2, and I will at some point upgrade the rest of it to level 2, but that came with the removable liner as well, so I'm using it in the winter. I can use it in the summer. It is blazing hot in the summer, so I will be buying a leather jacket, the particularly well vented ones. So yeah, I don't like it so much for the summer. It leaves me dripping, but it's done its job, and it's worked through winter as well. It is waterproof, and it has got the 360 system on the RST, so you can zip that to the RST trousers as well, which I have bought them at 120 quid, but I've not included them in this list because this was my initial list, if you like. But the waterproof trousers, you can clip it to that, so it makes it sort of a bit more like one piece and it doesn't ride up and flap at the back. So that took us on to boots. Boots were probably my biggest investment, actually. Boots and jacket. So the boots I got, again, RST, not lobbying for them or anything. If they want to sponsor a video, more than happy. Okay, yeah, so RST boots, these are the sport type boots. Again, we'll put it all up, links, but these are the sports boots ones where they've got like the exo frame, if you like, on the ankles, just particularly because I've got crap ankles, and I just had this fear that I will put my foot down one day, I'll roll my ankle, and then I'll have a bike on top of me, and then I'll be in a world of pain. Me personally, I have ankles, so that's why I've done that. But also I had a friend when in my youth that it wasn't the coming off the bike that hurt him the most, it was the bus that came around the corner and rode over his foot and crushed his foot. So I was more than happy to spend a lot of money on boots because I wanted that sole plate so that the sole didn't crush, and just as much protection that I could do on my ankles and on my feet. Gloves, surprise, surprise, RST gloves. Again, I put links. These are a summer tight glove that I got. It was leather fronted, but again they were £40. They weren't the most expensive, but they were £40. The pull-on hoops broke within a week. Outside of that, I still wear them, they're still comfortable, but they're crap in the winter. All right for short journeys, but the summer gloves, not much more to say on that. Jeans, Armour, I think it was, ARMA, literally, Armour jeans that I got. I don't think they're double skin, I think they're single skin. Well, they're just basically like, yeah, the jeans with the Kevlar reinforced impact points, you know, your hips, but, you know, groin, bum, knees. They did come with hip protection level 1 and knee protection level 1, which again you can get stuff to upgrade. Again, they're doing all right, other than the fact I've got a big belly and no arse. I struggle to keep them up sometimes. Other than that, they're fair comfortable. They've been warm enough even in the colder weather, to be honest. It's I've run a bit hot, but yeah, they've generally been all right. I got soaking wet one time and they've dried and been fine. Biggest issue, the pocket liners, to be honest. Pocket liners at the front are just holes in them and just broke straight through, so that's dead annoying. Everything's got to go in my jacket pockets now. I can't put anything in my jean pockets. But no, the big thing, so you could buy second hand. Jackets, yes. Gloves, yes. Boots, yes. Trousers, yes. If it's got the appropriate protection that you need, it's not been damaged, so soaked in oil or anything like that, and you're happy with getting it cleaned and doing that. Helmet, do not buy a second-hand helmet. Don't even think about it. That could have been dropped. You know, they've got a life expectancy as well. They are expiry, if you like. Sorry. We learned on a CVT like 3, 4, and 5 years, depending on the helmet. You'd have to check it on the internet what your helmet is. But the big thing is, it could have been dropped, and it might not look like it's damaged. But why would you want to wait and find out at the point that you actually need it at the end of the day? So, you know, jackets and like, yeah, save a bit of money. I've been looking to get our last and see what stuff we can get that's been bought and then not really used a lot. The trouble with motorbike gear, you sweat a lot in it, so even if you clean it, you're going to feel a little bit someone else's stuff. But yeah, can't stress enough, guys, don't buy a second-hand helmet. But what you do have to do, budget. Any budget you need for your clothing will have to come out of the budget for your bike. If you've got £5,000, oh, this is what you can get together in enough time to get riding. Lose £1,000 straight away for your training. You lose 500 quid straight away. Yes, you could get that down a bit, but if you say 500 quid straight away for your protective equipment, then we're going to talk about maintenance. You're chipping away on that initial amount of money that you've got for your bike, because maintenance isn't stuff that just comes up as and when it fails. This is regular riding maintenance that you need to do to keep yourself safe. So, you know. Okay, so the next one that we're talking about is the budget for maintenance. So the mistake people make with bikes is that they kind of treat it like a car, and I'm not saying this is right, but people can get away with not maintaining the car as they should do. Maybe not service it when they should, carry out sort of basic maintenance and preventive maintenance when they should, and the car will keep going, and it's not necessarily going to cause you any immediate harm. Whereas with the bike, you've not really got that option. You know, you're sat on this machine and there's things that can break and snag and snap that will then cause the bike to flip. They'll cause wheels to lock up, they'll cause you to come off, they'll cause an explosion of oil to then lose traction on your back wheel and then you'll spin out again. You need to set a budget for maintenance. So you could easily talk about straight away tyres. It's not like car tyres. You're not going to get 22,000 miles out of a pair of tyres. You know, you're going to be talking 6, 7, 8,000 miles depending on what brand you choose, or I say brand more, probably more what the budget within the brand. All your main brands, you know, they're all there. You know, your Dunlops, your Michelins and whatnot, all the tyres are going to perform fairly similar within their bracket, you know, within their tier, within those brands, if you like. I'm currently saving up to replace ones on my bike. I've got about 2,000 miles left. And then I want to get a new set of tyres. Now I can pick up a set of Diablo 3s for 180 quid. Nice and cheap, get them fitted, 205 quid. Double the price, I can get a set of Road 6s, Michelin Road 6s. and these tyres are just supposedly phenomenal. The wear is meant to be fairly good, the handling is meant to be brilliant, the confidence levels is meant to be brilliant. They've extended the tread right to the outer edge, which was an issue on the Road 5s, if you're aware, where in the rain they're a bit less grip when on the lean, because the tread wasn't coming all the way out to the wheel, and they've corrected that. But for me, that's 400 quid. But that's the only thing that's connecting your bike to the road, so why would you want to skimp on that? It's not like your car where you just sat on four wheels, so naturally it's stable, it's flat. You know, you might spin out or you might lose grip in a corner. You've got the ability to catch it a bit more on the bike. You're not got that. My riding level is not that. You know, you see these guys on the superbike racing or TT and back end skipping out, and they're just there like foot down casual, oh, yeah, just carry on. I can't do that, so I'll be putting the money into that. Most basic ones that we're going to talk about as well is cleaning and lubing your chain. Now you can get a kit for 20 quid, don't cost a lot, but you're going to be doing it fair regular. Every 200 miles you need to be lubing, and then obviously like at least every 500 miles you want to be fully cleaning it and getting everything out and then re-lubing it. And just so people are aware, you can't just keep chucking more lube on it, maybe wipe it down each time and just chuck more and more on. The trouble is anything that's worn gets into that, like, you know, the wax or the lube, and it becomes an abrasive paste. And that's why, like, you know, yeah, you could maybe get away with at 200 miles re-grease or re-oil or re-lube. 400 miles you can maybe get away with it, but you don't want to be going 500 miles or more. Realistically, for me personally, I do 200 miles, I'll re-lube or I'll add wax, but then at 400 miles I'm fully cleaning it out, and then it's a re-lube, wax, whatever your choice is of lubricant. With regard to that, we'll do some video talks on that. Ultimately, it's a bit of a preference thing, so don't worry too much if you've bought wax or you've bought lube. There's nothing major. You can do research on it very easily. Both have got pros and cons, but they're both going to work. They're both going to do the job. They might just vary depending on what environment that you're in. But emphasis, every 400 miles you're going to have to properly clean it out, and the cleaning can use quite a lot of cleaner. So if you're riding a lot, if you're commuting, you know, you could be spending that 20 quid a month getting new lube, or cleaner at least, like, you know. So that's something that you need to be looking at. Oil changes on your bike a lot more regular than on your car. Depends, some of it's down to preference, some people follow the servicing schedule, some people do it down to preference. I'm talking a couple of thousand miles and I'm changing it, but mine's an older bike, burns a lot of oil, and after a couple of thousand miles it's getting a bit notchy and it's hard to find neutral. But that's just my bike, and having read the forums and being in the groups, that's the decision I've taken, is that I'm going to do that now that I own the bike, to be that regular. But the trouble is with this, a lot of people, again, new riders, don't add this to the budget, and you might not have any tools, so then you're going to have to add tools on. You're not going to have to be really ridiculous tools, but you're going to need, like, what, at least a 3/8 socket set, potentially a 3/8 and a quarter, just to make it easier to drive socket sets with long and regular sockets on it as well, like, you know, like double and single depth sockets. Get the single hex if you can. Don't get the little bi-hex, get the single hex. Reason behind that, the bi-hex, if your bolt is, or your nut is well seized in there, that they'll strip the corners, whereas if you've got the single hex, you've got less chance of chewing up your nut for that. If you've got a Japanese bike, you might need JIS screwdrivers, because the normal Phillips will just chew it up, and then again you'll just need a normal set of Phillips screwdrivers as well. If you have got an older bike, multimeter, not expensive, but it's worth something having because you might need it. Especially if you're having starting issues and that, you need to check your batteries. If you've got older bikes and you've got carbs and you've got the carb maintenance to do, potential cleaning on that, fuel cleaners, you know, there's various things that you need to do on the bike, and you need to keep it working, but you need to budget into this. And if you need some of these tools, like a stand, you might have a bike that doesn't have a centre stand. I'm fortunate both my bikes have a centre stand, but I've got enough other jacks and stands and that I can bodge together to get the bike stud if I needed to, and I didn't have that capability, particularly for lifting the front ends and dropping forks out and stuff like that. But if you haven't got any tools, you're going to have to factor that in as well. I'm not saying you've got to go and buy out a full garage's worth, but you might end up spending about 150 quid on tools and stands and whatnot just to get yourself initially sorted. And these again are all things that people just don't take into account when they start riding, and should. So yeah, that's something else that you need to be looking into budget Okay, so the last one that we're going to talk about, and I did mention it at the beginning of the video, buying your bike. Mistakes, must-knows. Okay, mistake and must-know. View the bike. If you can, test ride the bike. Get as much history on the bike as that you can. Don't buy the bike on eBay blind. Don't buy project bikes as your first bike. So, I'll talk about my Sprint 1050. Right, okay, I didn't view the bike. I did buy it blind. I've got absolutely no history with it. It's not a project bike though. Phaser is a project bike and it was the first bike. Didn't buy it blind, came with no history. You need to be not buying project bikes as your first bike. I'm handy enough and my Phaser's ongoing and I could repair it if I had more time, but this is the thing, at the time when I bought it I had loads of time. Talking about time, I had loads of time. I needed something to kill time. It was evenings and I had a lot of time to kill. Like I said, various things going on in my own life and it was quite therapeutic for me, so it worked out all right. But I've ended up respraying every single panel on that bike. I've had the carbs off, God, more times than I can remember now through various reasons, and that included a whole new set or second-hand set, bank carbs fitted on there as well. Engine's yet to come out to get fully cleaned up and sorted. Exhaust studs completely sheared off and had to sort those out, refitting of the exhaust, cleaning and welding up the exhaust, painting the exhaust, top yoke, steering stem strip and re-grease, forks complete strip, new seals and obviously fresh oil in there. It's going to have a new chain and sprockets on it, so that's more money that I need to spend. Getting the goddamn thing running will be done shortly. On the next, I'm sending the carbs away for a full sonic clean. Now, I know that's all it is, it's jets, and it's fine when it's in the higher rev ranges. The lower rev range is a carb issue, so we need to do that. Wiring has been an absolute pain. It used to have an alarm, doesn't have an alarm now. Earths and grounds and that have been completely knackered. There's been lighting mods on it that have been completely shite. They've bypassed various safety features and not done it well, so then they've corroded and then caused more problems. But the fact is, you will get this project and you will spend more time fixing it or trying to fix it or getting it on the road, and then by the time you've done that, the season will be over. If you want to do that, get 2 bikes, save up the money and have 2 bikes. Get one that's running, which I've got, my Sprint 1050, and then have your project bike. Talking about the Sprint 1050, I'm going to do a whole nother video on that, and then going around the bike and MOT checks I did, because like I said, mine's gone through the MOT, not a single advisory. And if you see the bike, you'd be quite surprised. But that was dropped at low speed, so it's a Cat N. I got it for £1,000, which is about a third of the price of another bike, or the same bike of that mileage, roughly. Anywhere between £2,500 to £3,000 at the minute they're going for. I managed to get luggage fitted to it for 150 quid as well, which will only help it for touring. So I've got the side panniers, the top box. I've not bothered. I've heard crap things about them, so I've not bothered with the standard top box. But all the panels now need repairing, so that's the next job, and that's going to be probably about 100 quid in bits and plastic welding kits and stuff like that, just to get it all sorted, filled, primed, sanded back so it's smooth, and then I can apply a wrap. I think that's where I'm going to go. I was looking at painting, but after doing a lot of painting on the Phaser, I don't want to do any more painting. So yeah, don't buy a project bike, buy one that works. If you've got the money, go out and get something on HP or PCP, whatever. If you've got the money to do it, honestly do it. The new bikes are phenomenal. I'd really wish I could go out and get like a new speed triple or a speed twin Bonnie GSX-S, which you can see the videos of that I've reviewed. I'm trying to get hold of a Z900 RS Kawasaki to review that. But yeah, there's quite a lot coming with the channel, and because I've got the project bikes, we can move into maintenance stuff. So we'll do stuff like brake stripping down, doing it in depth and just what you need to do in order to get them running again, or just a bit of maintenance. You don't always have to strip these things down fully. A bit of carb cleaning, carb setting up and stuff like that, books where you need to look. Just general maintenance, we'll do that. MOT requirements, we'll do that. And basically, as I go through these bikes, one of the things I do want to do with the bikes is, like with the Phaser, is get it up, get it running, get it done, get it sold, get another one, start again, and then just have this on a bit of a rotating thing. and maybe do like one video a month or one video every couple of weeks, something like that, slow and steady on the projects. And then the other bits will be what I've been trying to do, which is the bike reviews and the road reviews. I'm coming into March now here in the UK, and it is starting to warm up. You're going to have to get out a bit more. Cost of living's gone through the roof. No one can afford to eat because it's so expensive, but I've got money for fuel so I can go out on my bike. So we'll do that, but I want to get a bit of touring in around the UK, so we'll do that. And I'll bring you as many product reviews as I can as well. But thank you for tuning into this video. So next one's going to be here very shortly doing some maintenance, but we'll get this one out, and I'll see you all again soon. Thank you so much for everybody that has subscribed to the channel. Everyone else, if you haven't, please do. Anything that you guys can do to like that to support the channel is really appreciated. It gives me the motivation to keep doing it. It is a lot of work. I've invested a lot of money in the equipment, getting the shed sorted now so I can start doing these tutorials and know-how videos, but just the equipment for riding on the bike has been quite a massive outlay. All that money's gone away from my investment on my own bikes, really, you know, so I've probably lost like 600-700 quid what I could have been putting in the bikes. So everything, you know, anything you guys can do will be appreciated, and hit that subscribe, really appreciate it. Share these videos with anyone that you know might be interested, and let's get it out there. Try and get the channel up there, you know, 1,000 subscribers. You probably heard it all before from anyone else sat on the channel, but yeah, 1,000 subscribers. All right guys, I'm James, and I'll see you next time. Take care.